Oh, hey there, guys and gals. Wally the Wolf here, and welcome back to the show. We at Little Flashlights are super happy to see you today. Today's episode is going to be, well, a little different from the ones we've done before. It's the first installment in a series I'm going to call Did You Know? Echo, echo, echo. With the secondary title of Say What? In this series, we're going to take a look at Bible stories or Bible facts you might not have heard much about. Maybe you haven't heard about them at all. That's why it's called Did You Know? Say what? It's going to get a little wild and crazy, guys and gals, but in a good way, like crazy awesome, yeah. I'm sure I'm going to be getting some weird looks from time to time because of this. Maybe I'll even get in trouble. Some of you might even throw up your hands like that and say, yeah, we're not going to watch that show anymore. But hey, I'm trusting the Bible, which is God's Word. I'm going to believe what it says, no matter how much it might seem out there. And today's talk is all about, wait for it, dinosaurs. I'm serious. This isn't a joke. I'm going to dig into dinosaurs. That part was a joke. First, a question for you. How often have you heard about dinosaurs at church or at Bible school? As part of a Bible study? As for me, I've only heard about them a couple of times, which is a shame, really, you know, because that story is super important. Whether you're a kid or a grown-up, you should know about it, which is why I decided to make dinosaurs the stars of the first installment of Did You Know? Say what? The world will tell you that dinosaurs lived millions and millions of years ago. It will also tell you that humans did not live alongside dinosaurs. But, to put it simply, the world is wrong. Bless their little hearts. But it's true. The world is wrong about dinosaurs. They were created on the very same day as humans, which means, yep, people and dinosaurs lived together, like the Flintstones. Without the foot-powered cars, yeah. I know there are lots of movies and books and smart people out there who say that's not possible, but we shouldn't look to the wisdom of the world. We need to turn to the wisdom of God. And where can we find this wisdom? That's right, the Bible. And just what does the Bible have to say about dinosaurs? The opening chapters of Genesis tell us the story of creation. Remember, we learned about that not too long ago. On the sixth day of creation, God created the land animals. And dinosaurs just so happen to be land animals. So get this, the Triceratops, the Apatosaurus, and even the T-Rex. During the early days of the world, they lived in harmony with the other animals and Adam and Eve. Here's another cool fact. Back then, we were all vegetarians. Yeah, even the lions and T-Rexes. Well, what happened? Well, after Adam and Eve disobeyed God, sin came into the world. It became a fallen, broken place. And people and animals didn't live in harmony like they used to. Dinosaurs became like any other wild animal. They could be very, very dangerous, especially those meat eaters. But that means, for a while, they were running around. So, where did they go? What happened to the dinosaurs? The flood. That's what happened. I won't get into the full story of the flood. At least, not at this time. It deserves its own video. Just know that the world was a wicked place, and God's judgment was brought to earth and he flooded it. Most of the dinosaurs were probably killed during the flood. That's where all the dinosaur fossils we keep digging up come from. The flood made that happen. But get this, not all the dinosaurs died during the flood. There were some that survived, thanks to the ark. How do we know this? Well, we look to the Bible again. Sure, fine. Okay, the Bible doesn't say that Noah took a bunch of dinosaurs onto the ark. The word dinosaur isn't even in the Bible. To that I say, some other animals aren't mentioned in the Bible, but we know they exist or did exist, right? Besides, the word dinosaur wasn't even invented until like 1841 or something like that. But the Bible does say that God asked Noah to take a certain amount of each living thing onto the ark. And well, that includes dinosaurs. Some people will say, impossible. Dinosaurs were way too big. They never would have fit, even in a boat as big as the ark was said to be. But there is a way it could have happened. There are some scholars who believe Noah did not take adult dinosaurs. Instead, he took teenage dinosaurs. They wouldn't have been babies, but they wouldn't have been fully grown dinosaurs either. Once the floodwaters went away, these teenage dinosaurs would have been old enough to go out into the new, well, slightly damp world and make babies themselves. Sure, I can't tell you this is absolutely what happened, but God gave the command, so I don't have any doubt whatsoever that he would have given Noah a way to do that. Either way, we know dinosaurs were around at the same time as men. How can we know that? Because a living, breathing dinosaur. It is described in the Bible. Yeah. Dinosaurs in the Bible? A living, breathing one? You must be joking, you might ask, but it's true. Just take a look at the book of Job. Turn to chapter 40 and start at verse 15. God's talking to Job in this part, and he says, See now, Behemoth, which I made as well as you. He eats grass as an ox. Look now, his strength is in his thighs. His force is in the muscles of his belly. He moves his tail like a cedar. The sinews of his thighs are knit together. His bones are like tubes of bronze. His limbs are like bars of iron. God goes on to say, this behemoth is chief of the ways of God. It doesn't get scared by big rivers either, and nobody can take it down. Pretty cool, huh? And you know what that sounds like? Dinosaur. The behemoth was not an imaginary monster. God specifically said he created it after all. Sadly, there's some Bible commentaries out there that say this mighty creature was an elephant or a hippo or maybe even a crocodile. But that doesn't make any sense. Crocodiles don't eat grass like an ox. And the book says the behemoth had thick, tough bones and a tail like a big tree. Elephants and hippos have big, tough bones, yeah, but they don't have tails like a tree, do they? But you know what does? Dinosaur. The behemoth might have been a sauropod dinosaur. That's a long-necked dinosaur, for those of you who don't know the name. A sauropod dinosaur fits that description to a T. Okay, so we know that dinosaurs were around during Job's time. But what about after that? This is a bit trickier, but we've got some leads, yeah. There are hints sprinkled all throughout history. I've heard there are actually dinosaur-like engravings carved on the bronze grave of a Middle Ages bishop. And then there's all the stories about dragons. Yep, you heard me right. Dragons. There are hundreds and hundreds of tales about them around the world. Fiery serpents show up in the Bible too. Oh, and don't forget all about the sea monsters. People back then believed that those creatures were real. And why would they believe something like that? Maybe, just maybe, they came across some old weird bones. Or maybe, just maybe, they saw some big scary reptiles once upon a time, and they had no clue what that was. Just something to think about. Although, I will say this. There is something that sounds a lot like a fire-breathing dragon in the Bible too. but that's another video for another time. Dragons, yeah, dragons. Which leads to another question. Where are the dinosaurs now? I think the answer is clear. Sadly, they've gone extinct. I mean, it makes sense. Think about it. The world was a very, very different place after the flood. Maybe it was harder for them to survive. And don't forget about all those dragon stories. What happens to the dragon at the end of most of those tales? Exactly. So, the dinosaurs are probably all killed off or they died out. The same thing has happened to a lot of animals, like the dodo bird, and the great auk, and the saber-toothed lion. This is a broken, fallen world after all. But even though the dinosaurs are most likely gone, their legacy remains, and this legacy is tied with the Bible. I'm going to be honest with you. The world will tell you the Bible is wrong. It'll say dinosaurs didn't live with people. It'll say they were killed by a meteor or something like that. You'll hear stuff like that in movies, and you'll learn about it in school. It can be confusing and scary to have these so-called facts thrown into your face. But please, don't turn away from the Bible. It's God's inspired word. Worldly wisdom and knowledge will fail, but the Bible will always, always be true. It will never lead you wrong. I know this has been a little weird as an episode, but I thought it was a lesson that needed to be shared. If people begin to doubt the truth of creation and of dinosaurs' place in that history, then they can also begin to doubt the rest of the Bible. I encourage all of you to stay strong in your faith. Dinosaurs aren't a reason to doubt God and God's word. They're right there in the Bible. And it's okay to talk about them in church. They're more proof of God's majesty and power. I hope you've enjoyed this installment of Did You Know? Say what? And if you're still here, thank you. I've got a lot of other crazy but awesome stuff to talk about. True stuff at that too. So keep your eyes and ears peeled, okay? Until next time, take care of yourselves, and God bless you all.